Everyone treats summer like it owes you happiness. Long days, pool parties, your best life on a loop. So what does it mean when you feel worse? The summer blues are real. It's why summer is one of the busiest stretches of the year for people starting therapy. Therapy is not only for when you're in crisis. Grow therapy is for all the moments when you decide you want more. More support, more clarity, more tools. Mental health isn't a destination you reach. It's something you build, and Grow makes that easier. Grow connects you with thousands of high-quality licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. You can search by what matters, like insurance, specialty, identity, or availability, and get started in as little as 2 days. There are no subscriptions, no long-term commitments. You just pay per session. Grow helps you find therapy on your time. The therapist you want takes your insurance on Grow. Grow accepts over 125 insurance plans. Sessions average $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/book now today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/book now. growtherapy.com/book now. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Clint, how are you?
I'm good.
We are getting ready to go on a deep sea fishing trip, bringing a bunch of officers with us. I am so excited. I have friends coming out from Texas to join us, and I think we're going to have an amazing time. And as I've been talking to the people that are coming with us, I was sharing with them kind of like some of the do's and don'ts. And one of the do's is make sure that you shut your phone off or put it on airplane mode. And it's because when we go out, close to the Mexican waters or in the Mexican waters, then our roaming starts and it literally drains your battery in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's something that how are you supposed to take pictures of all your catches if your battery's dead,
Yeah, so I'll bring a power bank, but definitely airplane mode for that. And that got me talking to other people about just having the inability to use your phone. And there are some people who they physically just find it to feel almost dangerous when they have any sense of solitude, especially as a first responder. So I thought we could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, we're so tied into our phones nowadays and where you always had to feel this connection with the outside world, whether you're out and about, wherever you're going, it's always having some sense of connection because it's so ingrained in us. Like, it's funny, I was talking with another sergeant the other day and I was like, if we just got rid of phones, we would see a lot less traffic accidents and stuff. But it's when we don't have that connection, I think it's that feeling of, well, what if something happens? Well, there's always been that sense of connection. I think with us having cell phones, it inhibits us in so many other levels.
Yeah, and it's not about this internal experience of not necessarily not wanting to be on our phone. That's just an example, right? But I think that a lot of the times when you're a first responder, you're in this survival mode for such a long time that even those quiet moments start to feel like they're threatening.
Yeah, I think because we get so used to being in this realm of the radio's going off all the time, you have questions from your partners calling you. There's always something going on when there's absolutely nothing going on. I think one of the first things we think of, this is the calm before the storm. There's something not right going on. And we start having that feeling more and more of, okay, what bad is going to happen next?
Yeah, or having that mental preparedness for it. And the psychological concepts here is chronic nervous system dysregulation and internal insafety. And as it relates to internal and safety, this basically develops when the nervous system loses its ability to return to that baseline state of calm and security, even though you might have this absence of a genuine threat. And I think that for first responders who spend years operating at that high alert environment, the nervous system becomes so conditioned to danger that safety starts to feel like it's suspicious.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down to is, you're always preparing for the worst case scenario. You're always preparing for anything and everything that could happen. When there's nothing going on, that's outside of your normal, which is it's a strange feeling unless you learn to combat it.
Yeah, the body basically stays braced and then the mind stays scanning. And I think that for a lot of people, this isn't necessarily anxiety in the traditional sense, but it's a deeper disconnection from the felt sense of being okay that I think most people take for granted.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important being able to have that light switch, like I've talked about before, is being able to turn it on and turn it off and have this readiness mode that you can have that light switch where it's off in a normal basis, but when you need to turn it on, it's just as quick and easy to turn that response on.
Lately I've been telling you that I think we're going to have a big earthquake soon, and living in Southern California, we have earthquakes all the time, but there's just been something about, I don't know if it's the monsoonal moisture that has created this weird feeling, making things feel off, or just the knowledge of different fluctuations in humidity and temperatures causing the rocks beneath us to become unstable. But I know that sense of just something is off has been something that I've been dealing with for, 10 days now.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting to add that on top of everybody's daily stressors. And, for a lot of the people that I work with, another thing that I hear them talk about is just feeling on edge without being able to identify a specific reason.
And that's where I think, because we're in that fight or flight mode on a regular basis, and I mean, inherently we're always going to be in that mode, but being able to turn on and turn off anything and everything when it comes to that is having your safe space, almost like being able to go to that location and not have to worry about, okay, what's going to happen next. This is how I think about it, is you're at home, and if you're always sitting okay, someone's going to be breaking in, and you're living in this state of preparedness all the time, mentally and physically, you're not going to be able to shut that down if you don't practice it. And it's not saying that you can't turn it on and turn it off. It's just being able to have that preparedness for you so you're not living in that state.
Yeah, or fully see those thoughts through. So I can tell you for me that I constantly have that threat awareness thought, right? And I spend a majority of my day up here in the office. And one thing for me that I have seen visually in my mind more times than I like to admit is the different items that I focus on when I come upstairs for the first time for a new day that I could very easily take and use as a weapon to be able to, hit somebody over the head as I place it downstairs. We have a perfect spot to be able to literally take someone out in an instant without them even knowing about it. And so for me, being able to literally see that conditioning and that preparation through mentally, it helps a great deal for me to know okay, well, this is starting to feel anxious. This is the thought. I'm aware of it. I'm acknowledging it. This is what I would do. And then that kind of goes away, at least for a little bit.
Yeah. When you work through that scenario in your head and then you kind of move on from it, and you think of those different approaches of what you can and can't do, and being able to address those as they come up and work it through. It's like that endless loop of where you hear a piece of a song, or a piece of a song keeps coming through, and you cannot get that song out of your head, but then you sing it all the way through, it goes away and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
And for a lot of people, they're actually just looking for a nervous system reset. I've talked to a lot of people who basically the stillness just feels more threatening than any kind of activity, or they feel like a version of themselves that they don't actually recognize anymore. And I think too, for a lot of people, they tell me that they feel more like themselves when they're in that crisis mode.
When we're feeling in that crisis mode all the time, it's draining. It's physically draining and mentally draining. And that's why it's so important when you start taking in these practices to start alleviating any and all of those responses, but recognizing it and not being hard on yourself when those come to light. When you're living in that state, it's just being accepting of it. I think you start changing your perception associated to all of that.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that the internal unsafety is a nervous system pattern. It's not a life sentence. There's so much that we can do to help to be able to feel safe in our own skin again. And I know for me, the first thing that I always begin with is actually my body before my mind. You'll see that I have 2 very small weights sitting in the corner of my desk. Anytime that I just need to get out some of that angst, I literally pick up those weights. That's the whole purpose of why I have them sitting there.
No, and it's good to get that physical movement going, because it's like it's shaking that energy out of you. It's getting that movement going, that workflow out of you, or any of that nervous energy out of your system.
And I think too that safety really does return when we incorporate things with intention, like our movement, our breath work, any kind of grounding work that we can do. All of that is important. And going back to the beginning of this conversation, I think that one of the most important things that we can do is to reduce some of those inputs to try to help to be able to keep the nervous system from being in activation all of the time. One very easy way to do that, put your cell phone down.
Yeah. And when you separate yourself from your electronic devices, you separate yourself from that environment, you go out and you stand outside, you walk around and eliminate all the technology in your life. It doesn't have to be for a long time. It could be for a short amount of time, just to get out and about and just move around. It helps alleviate that so much.
Totally. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below. And as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.